Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something absolutely mind-bending from ancient Jain philosophy, the Kalachakra, or the Wheel of Time. You know, if you've ever felt like time is just moving way too fast or kind of wondered where humanity is even heading in the grand scheme of things, the cosmic charts we're unpacking today offer a completely different perspective. We are literally stepping away from our standard wall calendars and looking at a blueprint of eternity.
It's a huge question, right? When exactly does time begin and end? I mean, it's a puzzle that has baffled humanity, scientists, and philosophers for millennia. Usually we think of time as a straight line, a distinct beginning, a middle, and an eventual end. But the ancient cosmic charts we're looking at today offer a breathtakingly vast answer that completely shatters that conventional linear way of thinking.
Okay, before we can even begin to map out the historical and future eras shown in our sources, we've got to wrap our heads around a foundational unit of measurement used in these texts. It's called a sagaropum. A sagaropum is an incredibly vast unit of infinite time. To put it into perspective, it's so staggeringly immense that it is literally impossible to calculate in standard human years. The sources describe it as an oceanic measure of time. Grasping this concept is absolutely crucial because it forces us to rethink our place in the universe and recognize just how fleeting a human lifespan truly is in the grand cosmic dance.
Now, if you look closely at the circular structure of the Kalachakra, you'll see it's anchored heavily on the concept that time is Anadi Anant. Anandi means beginningless, and Anand means endless. There's no big bang here, and no ultimate doomsday where everything just stops. Instead, time is a continuous, unbroken, eternally rotating wheel.
As we look closer at the mechanics of this eternal wheel, it's elegantly split into two massive half-cycles. On one side, we have Avasarpini, which is the descending cycle. Think of this as a slow, downward descent characterized by steadily decreasing happiness, physical stature, and spirituality. And then on the other side is Utsarpini, the ascending cycle. This is the upward swing of the wheel, marked by spiritual renewal, increasing joy, and harmony. Together, they essentially create this endless rhythm of cosmic inhales and exhales.
Let's start by zooming into Section 1 of Avasarpini, the downward cycle.
So this downward cycle doesn't just plummet all at once. It's divided into 6 distinct sequential eras, or eras. We start at the top with Sukma Sukma, an era of absolute, unadulterated happiness that lasts an unfathomable 4 Koti Sagaropums. We're talking trillions upon trillions of oceanic lifespans. Then we gradually step down. Notice how the predominant state slowly shifts from extreme happiness, introducing tiny bits of sorrow, until we hit the 4th era, where sorrow begins to outweigh the joy. But the absolute craziest part of this chart is the dramatic shift in duration. The first 4 eras last for infinite oceans of time, but then, as we hit the 5th and 6th eras, the eras of sorrow and extreme sorrow, the timeline abruptly collapses from infinity down to mere thousands of years, just 21,000 years each.
To really visualize these early, incredibly long eras, imagine a literal utopia. The sources depict a world completely devoid of disease, greed, or grief. Human needs were effortlessly provided for by what are called kalvavriksha, or wish-fulfilling trees. It's an era of divine life, bathed in a kind of effortless perfection before the slow creep of spiritual and physical decline begins to take hold.
All right, moving to Section 2. Let's zoom in on our current era today.
Having seen the immense scale of the cosmos and the sheer perfection of those early ages, where exactly do you and I sit on this massive wheel right now? Well, we are currently navigating the 5th era. Remember that dramatic timeline drop we just talked about? Yeah, we're in it. We are living in a remarkably short 21,000-year window. In the context of infinite cosmic oceans, our entire recorded human history, with all its daily stresses, deadlines, and modern drama, is basically just a blink of an eye.
This current era we're in is known as Dukma, which literally translates to sorrow. The source material explicitly defines this stage of the wheel as a time characterized by heightened materialism, physical ailments, and a stark decline in true spiritual wisdom. When you look at the complexities and struggles of our modern world, well, this ancient description of a sorrow-heavy, materialistic age feels incredibly resonant, doesn't it?
What's genuinely fascinating here is the contrast between the unimaginably vast timelines of the early eras and the razor-sharp historical grounding of our current one. According to the texts, our current era of Dukma didn't just fade in ambiguously. It began exactly 3 years and 8.5 months after the nirvana or ultimate liberation of the 24th spiritual guide, Lord Mahavira. I mean, it grounds this massive cosmic abstraction into very, very specific human history.
Now for Section 3, Usarpini, the upward cycle.
The beautiful mechanics of a wheel dictates that once it hits absolute rock bottom, which happens in the sixth era of extreme unyielding sorrow, it cannot stay there. It inevitably has to rise again. Following the darkest era, the cosmic wheel catches an updraft. Slowly but surely, the environment heals. Peace, true knowledge, and human happiness steadily ascend over another 6 eras, climbing back out of the darkness and ultimately returning to that state of absolute perfect bliss at the very top of the wheel.
Let's look at Section 4, the 24 Eternal Guides.
Now, you might be thinking, with all this inevitable rising and falling, are we just passengers on this ride? Well, not quite. The texts emphasize that humanity is never entirely left without a compass or spiritual guidance. The sources meticulously list 24 Tirthankaras, or supreme spiritual guides. These enlightened beings consistently appeared during the 3rd and 4th eras of these cycles. Their whole purpose, to re-establish the spiritual order and teach humanity the path of liberation before the darker eras set in. In our current downward half-cycle, this lineage begins with the first guide, Lord Rishabdev, and concludes with the 24th, Lord Mahavir. They act as bridges, essentially offering a way off the spinning wheel of endless rebirth.
There is a remarkably powerful foundational message embedded in these texts. Translated, it reads, "Time is beginningless, religion is endless, the tradition of Tirthankaras is endless, and every soul has infinite potential to become liberated." This is the ultimate takeaway here. Yes, the scale of time is completely intimidating, and for sure, the downward cycle brings sorrow. But the overarching message is one of boundless optimism and infinite potential for every single individual.
When you look at the linear 12-stage progression right next to the circular wheel, it brilliantly illustrates a profound shift in perspective. What feels to us like a straight, finite line of human history, with all its urgency and finality, is actually revealed to be just one small arc of a massive, eternal circle of renewal. It completely, fundamentally reframes how we view progress, history, and even our own lifespans.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. We've seen the maps, the unimaginable timelines, and the inevitable rise and fall of absolute joy and deep sorrow. If time is truly an endless, unbreakable cycle, and we are currently stationed in this brief 21,000-year window of Dukma, how will you choose to navigate the era we are living in today? What path will you chart on your own turning wheel? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and until next time, stay curious.